I'm Michael Fox, and this is the Prospector News Podcast. And I am joined by George B., the President, CEO, and Director of US Gold Corp. Welcome, George.
Good day to you, Michael. Thanks for hosting me.
It's a pleasure. You got put back on my radar by good friend Chris Temple of the National Investor. This is an interesting story that had kind of gone away for a while, and some fresh eyes brought it back. And I think our listeners are going to be excited to hear about you, but they likely need to know about you. So let's give them the elevator pitch and the high altitude view of the company.
All right. Well, thanks, Michael. I'll just tell you that I just joined US Gold Corp in 2020, coming out of semi-retirement, and a lot of that is because I really liked the copper, the project, which was called Copper King, is now called the CK Gold Project in Wyoming. So the US Gold, a bit of an anomaly. We are listed on the NASDAQ. So that's not the normal place for a junior mining company. But it certainly exposes us to a lot of the U.S. market. And as we start looking at things, what essentially happened with U.S. Gold Corp is that Copper King, the CK Gold project, was acquired early on in the life of the company. However, the main thrust through about 2019 was consolidating and exploring in Nevada, in particular the Keystone project, which is just on trend with the Cortez Barrick and Newmont's Nevada Gold Mines Cortez complex. So, around about end of 2019 to 2020, money's tight for exploration, and the notion was the company wanted to look at monetizing Copper King. So I was asked to take a look at it and found it to be a very interesting project and something which was readily developable, if that's a word. I ended up joining the company late 2020, and now we've been moving the company through the various steps to get it a permit and get it into production. That's been the main thrust of our focus, the CK Gold project in Wyoming. And the company holds a really good exploration portfolio. We just sold a property on the Carlin Trend. That was our Maggie Creek property to Barrick. But we've got 20 square miles of claims, as I say, just down from the Cortez complex. And we also have a property in Idaho. So those will come to pass. Our main focus at the moment is the CK Gold project.
Well, you were telling me off mic, you were kind of retired. They asked you to come and take a look at this project that was in their portfolio, and they kind of Michael Corleoned you, where you were out and all of a sudden they just drew you back in. What particularly about this specific project drew your interest?
Well, Michael, I've been operating and developing mines for over 40 years. Some of the companies I've worked with, Rio Tinto, Anglo American, Barrick Gold Corporation, Kinross. That's taken me all over the world. So the opportunity to go and develop something on US soil in the state of Wyoming was very interesting. I live in Park City, Utah. But looking at the project, first off, you just look at the technical aspects. It has got a very low strip ratio. So although the grade isn't stellar high, it will make a lot of money. We published our pre-feasibility study in December of 2021, and with an AISC of $800 per ounce. So it's a really attractive project. And then, the next aspect you go to is, having looked at the, mining and the processing, how readily achievable it is. Can you get it permitted? Well, the project is, our landlord is essentially the Office of State Lands and Investments in Wyoming. So we have a mineral lease from the state of Wyoming, and we sit on state land, and we're surrounded by federal land. So as a consequence of that, we really are under the auspices and jurisdiction of the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality. The only nexus to federal government involvement was the Army Corps of Engineers, and the footprint of our project falls outside of any jurisdictional waterways. So we just are dealing with the Wyoming state as the regulatory authority, and these folks have been very professional and helpful as we move along the permitting path. So that's a big plus for the project.
Definitely, Wyoming has always been a very resource-friendly area, but it's an area that's in need of diversification because it's been heavy on the on coal and natural gas and oil, which as we slide to a green economy, they're going to fall increasingly out of favor. So an opportunity for a copper project in their jurisdiction must be appealing to the government.
Absolutely, yeah. Nobody's building any more coal-fired power stations. The whole notion of investing in a 40, 50-year plant where we are at the moment with carbon means that the coal industry is in a little bit of a decline. So oil, gas, trona in the state. How nice it is to be able to revive the copper and gold. We are situated in the Silver Crown mining district, and this area was mined. It was mined. It was discovered in the 1800s as the railroads came through, and I guess the last mining really took place in the 1920s, and they were following high-grade material underground. Now, with modern technology, we can move the large quantities of material, develop a concentrate, send it off-site for processing. It's a really neat little project in the state of Wyoming. And to your point, copper diversification is great, particularly at a time when we're going for electrification, rebuilding infrastructure. Copper is going to be a real asset, and certainly a domestic supply. I consider that strategic.
And Wyoming itself is a bastion of green energy. There's a lot of wind power, and they're going to be the leaders of SMR when that comes online. So you're going to be a low carbon operation when you're up and running, correct?
Absolutely. While we're not permitting, we're just permitting the copper and gold operation at the moment. We think that in the future, there could be some beneficial use to the material that we mine, which doesn't contain copper and gold. And that would be, what would normally be called our waste product. So we're sitting 20 miles to the west of Cheyenne, Wyoming, and at the northern end of the Colorado Front Range. We have both Union Pacific and BNSF rail lines right nearby. We're right on the interstate I-80 and the I-25. So there is a big market for waste rock. And, from the perspective that we've spent money pulling out in a very viable project, the copper and gold, we've had to remove a little bit of waste. If we can put that waste to beneficial use, we've saved a bunch of carbon from the need to go and mine and quarry aggregate in other places. So the story gets better as we move along, and from the rest of the project standpoint, yeah, we're an open pit mine. We produce a concentrate. We salvage the water and reuse the water. Water is a very precious commodity, but we then send the concentrate off-site to an existing smelter. So from that perspective, we are very green.
So the permitting process is underway, and you expect this to be a fairly short runway to operation, but what does that runway look like?
All right, so the key permits in Wyoming for our project are the industrial siting permit, which is a mechanism in Wyoming whereby, a large capital investment, the state helps out the local community to absorb the impact of the large investment, in providing emergency services, roads, and so on and so forth. So the industrial siting permit, we just received that permit on May the 10th, unanimous decision from the Environmental Committee, and that's a big milestone. But beyond that one is the mine operating plan and closure plan permit application, and we submitted that last September. Mid-September last year, after 2 years of collecting baseline information and various studies. We were deemed complete and went into the technical review phase. We're currently responding to the first round of questions from the agencies, and we would anticipate having a mine operating permit early next year. And so that puts us in a position to be producing probably 18 months thereafter.
So potentially the company could be looking to be in production in late 2025, early 2026?
You got it. That's what we're shooting for.
That is an incredibly short timeline, considering most operations are 15 to 20 years in the United States. What an opportunity you found.
Well, look, since the interest in copper and gold minerals resources in general, there's been a dearth of exploration activity. There's lots of projects out there, but not too many are going to be shovel ready in the short term. So from that perspective, that's one of the opportunities that we saw, and I think that bodes well for us and for the supplies that the market is demanding. And particularly where you're in the United States or Canada, United States in this case, with a safe jurisdiction, you understand the rules of the game, and it's a very stable investment.
Yeah, most definitely. What else should investors know about your project?
Well, look, we are trading at about $40 million market capitalization. Our economics on the project look very robust. We're looking, in the neighborhood of the net present value of about $300 million. That's not counting any of the rock, which we might be able to sell later on. A very robust project. So why are we not trading higher? Well, I guess it's just a question of waiting to see the permit. People don't particularly care for risk, so we'll be putting that risk aside. We've got entities interested in the financing, so the financing risk goes away without necessarily diluting our shareholders. Management and insiders, we're shareholders ourselves, so we're not going to accept significant dilution. So it's a real opportunity. I'd like to call it a sort of diamond in the rough. So stay tuned to US Gold. I think there's a great opportunity, great upside. We've got coverage. If you go to our website, www.usgoldcorp.gold, you can see some of the coverage that we have with probably a consensus share price in the teens. So we're currently trading about $4.50. So there's a lot of upside that investors should pay attention to.
I wouldn't disagree with that. So I will put that link at the bottom of the description of this podcast, and I look forward to seeing how this whole project winds up and takes off.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. Yeah, we're very excited, and we're going to get CK Gold Project away, and then turn our attention to finding the elephants and the opportunities in Nevada. 20 square miles of highly prospective territory in Nevada. We have the follow-on story. So stay tuned to US Gold Corp.
Yeah, I know it's Montana's slogan, not yours, big sky country, but it looks like the sky's the limit. I look forward to having you on again, George. Thank you.
Michael, thank you very much.
The Prospector News podcast is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and are not to be taken as investment advice. Listeners need to do their own due diligence and seek advice of a licensed investment advisor.